Hi, my name is Risa Tirado. I am a sophomore painting and drawing and graphic design major. I'm interdis in the VA, and painting is my main concentration, and graphic design is my secondary concentration. I'm Puerto Rican, I'm from the Bronx, and I'm also an RA in Fort Awesome. I actually kind of come from a background of going to a law high school that was like an Ivy League feeder school like that, but it kind of was this feeling of knowing that's never something I'd feel satisfied doing. And art is really something that has always been very near and dear to my heart. I feel like it's the one thing that sort of kept me stable over time. It's been the only other thing I could ever really see myself doing with my life. I definitely like the environment in the VA. I think when you're around so many creative people, it kind of pushes you to keep doing what you're doing, and you can gain inspiration from those people. Or it's very motivating and it's very refreshing to be in a space like that. With painting, I really like the materiality of it. It's sort of like watching this image that is in my brain come together, and for that reason it's also so frustrating for me. I feel like it's since it is so abstract and I'm just trying to get these ideas across, as much as I might be frustrated, as much as it might be an emotional labor, doing all these different ways of working, it's very much a labor of love. Being physically disabled, I feel like that has always sort of posed a challenge here at college. When it comes to disability, I feel like most of my work that references disability tends to focus more on neurodivergence. There's so much underdiagnosis when it comes to people of color with autism. I feel like that's something that's very disregarded, and I feel like certain traits of autism can present in different ways just based on community, based on how you're raised. That's what I reference in a lot of my work mostly. Yeah. And when it comes to my identity as a person of color and an artist, I feel like a lot of what my work focuses on, at least my current painting practice, is a lot about mythology. I love Greek mythology, I love Roman mythology, I love Egyptian mythology. I love looking into indigenous religion and Taino religion, because I'm part Taino. And those are things that are very important to me, and I feel like people who tend to make art about mythology, it's all white people. It's all white people drawing white people, drawing white people. And that's kind of all of what art history that references mythology is. So a lot of what I do is putting people of color in those works, in those spaces. I've always loved stuff like that, and I feel like it was very frustrating as a child, feeling there wasn't stuff about my interests and things I'm passionate about that are outside of my identity directly, but my identity wasn't seen in any of those things. And it sort of gave me this conflict about wanting to be white, so I would feel more in touch with those things. And it's no, I can make that for myself, and that's something that I can provide to other people. I feel like some professors have been a little frustrated that my work doesn't, I guess, reference race as directly. I feel like I've had them frustrated being well, I want you to do something about your culture. And it's I feel like that's not a notion that they put onto white artists. They don't put a notion onto white artists that everything they have to do has to relate directly back to all of those identities in that way. So my work is definitely very relevant to my identity, but in my own way. My art is sort of a way of communicating things about myself that I feel like I'm not very good at expressing in words. I'm not someone who is very verbally open with a lot of my feelings. A lot of that is also being autistic, and then being Puerto Rican, sort of raised in an environment where that's not necessarily the most encouraged all the time to be super vulnerable with your emotions. And I feel like my artwork kind of indirectly expresses a lot of that for me, and being able to express different ideas mainly about my OCD and being autistic and all these things about feeling sort of a little bit otherworldly in a way. But trying to not put that in a lens of a bad thing. It's fine to be that way, but that difference is still something that's important to me.